Hello everyone. Rainy silver for the final race of Tier 1, as Tier 2 was last week or yesterday, and we were going to have Tier 2 to also get started, or Tier 1 to finish today on Silverstone. So we have 12 races. The 3 championship contenders are all here, and hopefully it's going to be a very interesting race. We will soon find out, as myself out of the pit lane nice and early for this full wet qualifying, as it seems, as I get the stream up and going. So Griffin was first out on track. Person is the person at the moment to have a look at the most, hoping for his first CTCR championship win. As many more start their outlaps now. Everyone is out on a lap at the moment. It's a very busy track. As I also want to mention, it is a sprint weekend today, so that should be interesting. As Randro, we ride on board with him. Runs a little bit wide, but generally fairly clean as we head into village. And generally keeps it very clean as he heads down the Wellington Straight. Griffin was definitely first out, and he was out nice and quick, as he's a good distance ahead of Randro at the moment, but not as quick as Randro sets the fastest Sector 1. As he heads through Luffield and down on the old pit straight to Cups. Harry, ooh, who has spun on the Hamilton Straight and has completely lost his front wing there. Lucky to have not got any suspension damage. He'll have to hurry that one around to the pit lane, as someone did spin, and I'm pretty sure it was Harrison. But we'll switch back to Griffin, who is ending the end of his lap now. What lap time will he set? It's going to be a 1:41.6 as we switch back to Randro, who's going through the Vale chicane now. And what time can he set? It looks to be a lot quicker than Griffin's, and it is. It's almost 2 seconds quicker with a 1:39. Next up to cross the line is Lucas Paul. Lucas Paul, ooh, a snap of oversteer. Will not be close enough, but he is extremely close, just 1/10 in it. After that, it was Shamrock who invalidated his 1:40 lap. Victor Meehan goes 1 second behind them. Techno Sizzle and he goes P2 just behind his teammate. An astonishing sector 3 from him puts him ahead of his teammate's championship rival. Went into the pits and he's back out on his outlap. McBot, I believe, still has no front wing, as everyone else is either in the garage or in the pit lane. Shano, 96, previously Jinxie, with just slower than Griffin to tier 2 lads. And Shamrock is on a lap here. He seems to be, but just takes Maggots a bit too aggressively and invalidates his lap. Shamrock was just into the pit lane then. Emilio, Season 1's championship winner, is now on his flying lap. He hasn't had a great season. It just hasn't been with the pace of the front runners. But we'll see if he can whip up a good lap here today. Obviously won in Great Britain last time out, so it will be interesting. We'll switch to S Junior 4, who is on a hot lap at the moment, as the rain seems to be drying out at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do find intermediate soon. As Junior rounds the final corner, little bit of oversteer, but everything's fairly clean. He puts a P4 just ahead of Victor Mean. Switch back to Emilio with a 113.1 in the middle sector as he heads into the Vale chicane. Don't think it'll be anything close to the 139.2 from Randro, but it'll definitely be decent enough lap. He sets a 140.9 just ahead of Shano and Griffin, just slotting in behind Victor Mean there in P6. So the two Haas and crucially FaZe McBot, the only people to have not set a lap, but FaZe McBot seems to be on a lap here at the moment. You can see the car twitching from all the standing water on the track. It's not an easy track to drive, but the games has told us that he has set the fastest Sector 1. We will see when he comes to the end of the lap if he actually has, as there was a Mercedes gone off. It seemed to have been Techno Sizzle down at Mags and Beckett's. We'll switch back to McBot, who is going fast and hopefully doesn't get held up by, I think that's XD Harrison, reserving in the AlphaTauri. 112.4 in the middle sector, and the game has not told us that it's fastest, so usually that means it isn't. But we'll see when he comes to the line. What time will he set? It's definitely gonna be close. Oh, just turned in a bit too early. That's not gonna help him whatsoever. 140.2, just behind S Junior 4 in P5. We switch to LOI Ryan Curran, who heads into the Vale chicane. What lap time will he set? He goes P5 as Griffin is going to possibly try the intermediate tyres. Next is Shamrock, the only person at the moment to have not set a lap. He's taken the final chicane excellently. What will this lap time be from LOI Shamrock? It's only enough for P9. 6 minutes remaining. Randro is 8/10 down in his time, so he's not on a push lap. Techno Sizzle is, as he's heading through Maggots and Beckett's now. He was a few tenths up, now he's 2 tenths down. So either the rain is getting heavier or it's getting lighter and the full wets are too hot. Randro is straight into the pit lane. I'd say these guys will try the intermediate tyre at the end of qualifying. It'll be very interesting to see what lap times are put in if that happens. As no one at the moment is on a push lap. So we'll just wait to see. Yep, 2 drivers and possibly 3 are going to put on the intermediate tyres and go out. Griffin is the first. We'll see what his lap time will be, how much he will be improving by in the first and middle sectors. Yep, the rest of the field seem to be thrown on the intermediate tyres. They're definitely going for a gamble. And crucially, Randro 17 has put on the intermediates in the pit lane. As Griffin goes into the final chicane now and starts his first flying lap on the green wool tyres. We'll right on board with him and just see how much quicker it looks. Definitely doesn't seem to be a struggle out there, so I'd say these are definitely the quicker tyres. He's pretty much 2.5 seconds down on Randro. We'll see how much he has improved on his time by the end of this sector. He is 7 tenths up, so it's definitely a smart choice from Griffin, putting on the intermediates. Maybe he can wear into them a bit and then possibly get another lap after this. We'll have to wait and see, as there's yellow flags ahead and Griffin hasn't validated. Going wide at Woodcote is not helping his chances. No one else is going out yet, so that means that they will only go for possibly only 1 push lap, as I think there's only 3 minutes remaining in the session. Shano is also invalidated, as LOI Shamrock, followed by Ryan Curran, are heading out onto their outlaps on the intermediate tyre. FaZe McBot and S Junior are the only people at the moment on the wets. Junior's in low fuel mode, so he will be coming into the pit lane. So McBot still decided to just stay on the pit lane. At the moment, he hasn't put on the intermediates. He hasn't left the pit lane, which he'll be calling it tight. Randro finally comes out onto his outlap, as XD Harrison is on a lap and is 14 seconds up in Sector 1. That is something you definitely want to see. He goes into cups as McBaugh has thrown on the intermediates. And he has left the pit lane. So we're right on board with XD Harrison, the only person at the moment on a flying lap. He is 18 seconds up, which I think will only put him just ahead of Shano at best. We'll see how much he improves going into the final few corners here. Definitely seems a lot smoother as XD Harrison gets to the line and does go quick as a fall with a 1:38.0. Next up is Emilio 98 Robolino, who's 2.1 seconds up on his time going into the final few corners here. Can he improve enough to get provisional pole? I think everyone at the moment will be getting and trading pole position at the moment by the conditions drying out as it is. Emilio crosses the line, does go pole. Next up is, I think, Randro. He's just started his lap. Don't think anyone else at the moment is setting a lap. Yes, Shano was. He's just a second down. Next was Griffin, and he's taken Randro, but hasn't got any further than that. So Emilio and Harrison may have time to get around, recharge, and get back out for one final lap if they're quick enough and have enough fuel. As we go through some of the pack at the moment, Griffin's still 3 seconds up, it says here, going into Sector 1. I don't think he is. As Randro, he is 8 tenths up in his time in Sector 1. We'll ride on board with him just for a while as we switch to Ryan Curran and see if he can take provisional pole off Emilio 98 Robolino. As Lucas Paul, we missed that. He goes quick as a ball with a 1:36.1. That is a big lap from him. Obviously he is chasing a championship just like last season. Ryan Curran goes P2 just ahead of Emilio. Next to cross the line is Shamrock, who is currently last, and he is starting his lap. Next up, oh, was that Techno Sizzle? Techno Sizzle has crashed out, so he most likely, as his only time was on the wets, he most likely will be starting from the back of the grid. That is not good at all for Randro's teammate. He definitely doesn't have anyone to get in the way of the other drivers. What can Randro do? This is his final lap, and he does take provisional pole by just under 1/10 of a second. Lucas Paul is still on a lap and is just under 1/10 of a second up. We'll come back to him later. At the moment, I want to concentrate on FaZe McBot. He is just coming out of Mags and Beckett's onto the hanger straight. What time can he set? He is 2 seconds up on his time going into the final sector. Can he snatch pole position off Randro as he heads into the Vale chicane? He wanted a championship. He couldn't race last week. He is racing this week. And will he be on pole for the sprint race tomorrow? He won't be, but we'll switch to Lucas Paul, who might be. He is 2 tenths up. He crosses the line and takes pole position off Randro. It's a Ferrari pole position here at Silverstone, and it's going to be a huge pole position heading into the small 5-lap sprint race up next. Last to cross the line would be XD Harrison, who is on a cool down lap. S Junior is on a lap. He is 2 seconds up as he heads into the final corner, and he goes P2 ahead of Randro and McBot. A crazy lap from the AlphaTauri driver, and it's gonna be a huge factor in this championship in the sprint race. Wow, what an end to qualifying that was. And it's going to be Lucas Paul 73 who takes pole position. Just behind him is S Junior 4. Then comes Randro 17, who maybe set that lap just a little bit too early. And then it's FaZe McBot, who did set a good enough lap to get into the top 4. Following that is Ryan Curran, as this will be our standings for the race, the sprint race, up next. So our grid rundown for tomorrow: Lucas Paul 73 on pole position, in behind him S Junior 4 in the AlphaTauri. Then it's Randro 17 in front of FaZe McBot, then Ryan Curran, Emilio Robolino, LOI Shamrock, Shane 96, Victor Mean, XD Harrison, Griffin and Techno Sizzle. As we also point your consideration to the standings, the constructor standings, which are also could be decided today. Mercedes lead the way, but Red Bull are close behind, and that lap from Emilio is good, and Techno in P12 definitely isn't good. Ferrari and McLaren are still quite if they can get a good race. Obviously the sprint race has no points at all. Everything in the sprint is just for position on Sunday. It seems to be a dry sprint race, and it's only 5 laps, so weather will not be a factor. It's just going to be 5 laps of sprinting. So there's no formation lap either. It's just going to be this. Here we go, to 5 red lights for the sprint race here in Britain. It's lights out and away we go. It's a very even start from everyone here, but Lucas Paul is into the lead, heading into the first corner. It seems to be all good, no crashes as of now, as S Junior gets very close to Randro, who's going to possibly try one round the outside. He has. S Junior goes very deep, and McBot may be able to squeeze through as well, which he does, but S Junior is going to stick a wheel in there around the outside and does get a move done and keeps at least a podium here. Randro and Lucas Paul lead the way, as McBot does again go for a lovely battle here into Brooklands through Woodkit. What can McBot do down the old pit straight heading to Copse Corner? Everything seems fairly clean at the front between the two South Americans, as McBot goes very close to S Junior and goes wide after a bit of contact, and has to just slot him behind the AlphaTauri driver as he pushes it head to tail here through Mags and Beckett's. McBot does not want to be wasting time through this AlphaTauri driver ahead of him, as he seems to be weaving on the straight. McBot has a lot more straight line speed and is going to send one into Stowe, possibly down the inside, as S Junior goes a bit wide, keeps it on the track. As we head into the Vale chicane, everything seems fairly clean at the moment, as we go to position change, as Randro obviously gained 1 up heading into Village. Victor Mean has gone up 2, and Emilio unfortunately has dropped 2. As who's that spinning out? It's S Junior 4 who's spun out, and I've just seen reset the track. That will be a 10-second time penalty added on to his sprint race, plus a penalty point. So more than likely he will be starting from the back, as I think he may have spun out Victor Mean there as well. That is very unfortunate for the Alpine driver, and that will be investigated after the race. That incident is noted. Lap 2, S Junior on Victor Mean, and then obviously the 10-second time penalty for resetting the track, as everything between Randro and Lucas Paul seems to be very, very normal at the moment, as there's a gap, a little bit of a fight going on between Techno Sizzle and Shano. Techno will be the faster driver, as Shano goes a bit wide and runs wide at Copse, possibly got a warning for exceeding track limits, as Techno Sizzle usually takes Mags and Beckett's very well. Shano has to brake a lot, as Techno Sizzle should get the better acceleration. S Junior tried to launch his nose up the inside, that didn't work, as Techno Sizzle now is going to go for possibly a move. Yep, he's going to send one into the Vale chicane, late on the brakes. The Mercedes driver is up into P8. We switch back to S Junior, who's also gone round the outside of the Ferrari driver and possibly has a better run on the Mercedes. Griffin is into the pit lane, possibly with front wing damage, as S Junior 4 is going to possibly send one into Village. No, but Techno Sizzle does run wide, which means that he will get a better slipstream all the way down the Wellington Straight. Can he make a move into Brooklands? We ride on board the DRS, obviously now enabled, and the slipstream. Oh, as we ride on board now with Lucas Paul and Randro, who are going side by side into Cops, and Lucas Paul keeps the lead, but Randro with a lovely switchback. Can he? Oh, Lucas Paul has got a time penalty for exceeding track limits. That is not good at all. Could possibly set him back a few places. Randro gaining on Lucas Paul. He's gaining, and with DRS he is unstoppable and into the lead of the race. The Mercedes driver, the Uruguayan driver, the leader of the championship, is into the lead here in the Silverstone Sprint. As FaZe McBot has set the fastest lap. Obviously doesn't mean much, but it just does mean that he is the fastest man on track, and he will be gaining on the three ahead, as everything seems to be fairly stable at the moment. Techno Sizzle has dropped a place to be behind Shano again. Shano's picked up a penalty for exceeding track limits. As Techno Sizzle is gaining on Shano and into Brooklands, does get the move done fairly cleanly. Oh, but Shano possibly strikes back. No, he can't. Three-way battle here as Victor Meehan wants to get involved and is on the inside of Shano, going into Cops. Shano has no bother in going fast straight through there, has very limited ERS compared to the two he is battling with, which could lead him vulnerable. Ooh, had to brake there, a very unfortunate place. Has DRS, but Victor Meehan with a much better exit heading into Stowe will take P10 for tomorrow. We'll switch back to the top as McBot is gaining, and Randro, I believe, has just set the fastest lap. So McBot was gaining as Victor Meehan picks up a 2-second penalty. That's not good at all. Ryan Curran also with a penalty, and with Shamrock and Emilio right behind him. Shamrock possibly a better exit than Emilio there, going into down the Wellington Straight, but obviously he has DRS activated too, almost like Austria today. Two people having DRS, it's very hard to overtake. Top three both have limited DRS. It's the last lap of the sprint, and Lucas Paul wants to at least remain 2 seconds ahead of FaZe McBot and possibly even into the lead of the race. We'll have to hope, but Randro seems to have everything done right today. Lucas Paul has DRS and zooms by into the lead of the race, but there's no way that he will get 2 seconds ahead of the Mercedes driver today, as Lucas Paul rounds the final chicane of Britain. He wins the sprint on track, but it's Randro 17 who wins the sprint and is on pole position for tomorrow. McBott on the second row in P3, and it's going to be Emilio Robalino on the second row in P4, with Shamrock and Ryan Curran making it a Haas third row, and an AlphaTauri fourth row with S Junior and Harrison, although S Junior will drop all the way to 12th because of his 10-second penalty for resetting to track. Victor Meehan drops a place because of his penalty. He will start P10 with Techno Sizzle in P9. Shano just outside the top 10 in P11. And finally we wait for the Williams driver of Griffin to finish before we get underway for the full 50% race tomorrow. So S Junior no, he will actually start P8, but will receive 1 penalty point plus, although he had a penalty too. No, he will drop to P9. So Techno Sizzle moves up another place into P8 because of resetting to track. So we will get going with the custom grid for the race. So on pole, Randro, Lucas Paul P2, Emilio P4 with McBott P3. LOY Ryan Curran in P5 with Shamrock in P6. P7 will be XD Harrison. Where is he? Don't know. Techno Sizzle goes to P just behind Shamrock. Wait, who's behind Shamrock? XD Harrison, yeah, and then it's this Junior. Then it's Victor Meehan, then Shane, and then Griffin. Just need to. Just wait for Harrison to rejoin and then we will get going. So that will be our grid for the race, as I will tell the lads to ready up. So as Randro 17, the championship leader and currently the leader of this race, leads us away on the formation lap. We'll get everything set up that we can. As we look at the tyres, everyone has gone for the softs, and then most likely will go on to the mediums later on. That is the pit stop strategy. Lap 11 to 14 will be mediums, or possibly the hards if you struggle with tyre wear. So we'll go to position change and interval, and we will see how this race gets on. So our grid on the left hand side, Randro 17 in first with Lucas Paul in second, FaZe McBot in third with Emilio in fourth, Ryan Curran and Shamrock in fifth and sixth, XD Harrison in seventh. Techno Sizzle jumped one place because of S Junior's 10-second time penalty for resetting the track. He will start P8 and S Junior will start P9. Victor Mean, who spun because of S Junior, unfortunately, he'll be starting on the same row as him, so there'll be a feisty little rivalry there. He's in P10 in the last points position. Then finally, it's Shano 96 and Griffin 067 as Randro heads into Sector 3 and hopefully gets us going for a fantastic race today, and hopefully no Guan Yu Zhou's into turn 1. As he heads into the Vale chicane, and will line everyone up on the grid. Everyone, no trouble on the formation lap, which is what I love to see. Do not like incidents on the formation lap. They are silly and useless, as we hope to get this race done and over with just before 10 o'clock as Randro lines his car up on the grid position. And here we go, it's 5 red lights for the last time in F1 2021. It's lights out and away we go. It's a decent start from both drivers on the front row. I think Lucas Paul may have just got a better one into turn 1. But Randro gets the elbows out and keeps the lead. Everything's single file at the moment. I think FaZe McBot is going to try one down the inside of Lucas Paul. He keeps the position. They both keep it tight through Village, and everything seems fairly in order at the moment. As Griffin has jumped Jinxie or Shano off the start, and S Junior has lost a place. He's lost one to Victor Mean, which is unfortunate. Techno Sizzle has moved up 2 places past Shamrock and XT Harrison. Definitely must have got a good run through Brooklyn into Woodkit, as everything is very single forward for the front 4, and most importantly the front 3, as Shamrock retakes the position of Techno Sizzle, as there seems to be a mighty scrap going on between them. They're side by side into Mags and Beckett's. Shamrock has to shy out, but Techno Sizzle really is struggling with the twitching of his car, as Shamrock is going to try a move down into Stowe. Will he get P6 off Techno Sizzle? He squeezes him to the outside. Shamrock does concede the position as we switch back. McBot does go for a little bit of a lunge there on Lucas Paul. He defends well. Emilio right behind McBot, and he will waste no time in trying to get a podium today. Obviously a fantastic race for himself this race last season, and obviously wants a good position for today, as somebody has spun out at the back. It's S Junior. S Junior 4 is in the gravel on lap 1, and some may say a bit of karma from the incident in the sprint race. Now he has a lot of catching up to do, as XT Harrison is the first driver to pick up a penalty for exceeding track limits. This is a little bit of a train going on between Ryan Curran all the way down to Victor Mean, and then there's the tier 2 drivers behind them, as Randro is gaining a bit of a gap to Lucas Paul and McBot. But it's what I want to see, the 3 of these battling hard. Last time we did see this though was in Bahrain, and we all know what happened on lap 3 in the final sector of Bahrain. Let's hope it doesn't happen today, as FaZe McBot is gaining on Lucas Paul, and maybe with the added help of DRS, which will come into play next lap, he might have got by, but as of now he is P3. There's a yellow flag into sector 3. It's Griffin who has lost it through the Vale chicane and also loses it again. Cannot keep his car straight, as he is overtaken by S Junior 4. Does get it back on track, unfortunately for him, if he has any sort of car damage. Oh, and he will here. That's a big crash, as he loses the rear end out of the final corner. And most likely, I would say, a virtual safety car will have to happen from that. He cuts through the grass and back onto track, and everything seems to be fine, as he has a long way back to the pit lane. Again, it's very similar between Lucas Paul and FaZe McBot and Randro, in fact, as both of those went wide. McBot and Lucas Paul will both have DRS. I wonder if Lucas Paul is far enough to make a move on Randro. Doesn't seem like it, and McBot too far away to make a move on Lucas Paul. So it's black, red and orange, as we expected, going into the final race of the season, and with now starting 23 laps to go, hopefully an interesting race, as Victor Meehan has got by Ryan Curran, who seems to be struggling at the back in the Haas. We'll switch back to the front 3 as they head down the Wellington Straight. As Lucas Paul is maybe going to try one into Brooklyn's. Just a half look, but I don't think Randro will give that place up that easily. As we head with Lucas Paul into the open straight. He's got a great run here and is going to try round the outside of Copps. Will this be an excellent move from the Ferrari driver? It is! Lucas Paul is into the lead of the Grand Prix. A great exit off Woodcote down towards Copps, and it's an excellent overtake from the Ferrari driver. Randro just could not deal with it and possibly will be under pressure from McBott, or maybe we'll just go ahead and retake Lucas Paul into, as McBott will also go for it into Stowe. Will he get it done? Unfortunately not. He will. He's going to go late in the brakes, and that is an excellent move from FaZe McBott. He's up to P2. He needs to win the race, and at the moment he is in a position where he can get into the lead of the race, as these three are right beside each other as Griffin comes out of pit lane just behind him. He's been lapped already. Guessing he'll be lapped by a lot more as XD Harrison picks up another penalty for exceeding track limits. That puts him to 6th and possibly down to 10th now. So we're right on board with Griffin as he has a great view of the attacking up ahead, but at the moment it's all single file as he lets through Emilio Robolino in P4 and is about to be lapped by the whole field quick enough. The real interesting thing is what will happen with strategy. Who will come into the pit lane first? Will it be Randro? Will it be McBott? Will it be Lucas Paul? As McBott has gone wide in Copps many times, and he is right on the back of Randro here, going into down the hangar straight. And with DRS activated, possibly will get the lead. In the slipstream of Randro, he pulls to the outside with DRS. FaZe McBott, round the outside, is into the lead of the British Grand Prix. He's just back from holidays today, and he will be having a holiday party, but maybe not for long, as Randro makes a bit of contact as he sends a dive bomb into the Vale chicane. As they both go side by side now through the first corner. Who will stick it out stronger? McBott or Randro? They're still battling with each other. McBott is in the lead of the race, but Randro goes for a massive dive bomb into Village as they're still side by side. Heading down to Wellington Straight now. Randro should have a much better run, and with the added bonus of DRS, should get the move done. Lucas Paul may also get the move done on McBott, as it's a three-way battle for the lead. But McBott manages to defend well and at least keeps P2 for now. It's an excellent battle between the three of them, and we're only 6 laps in of 26 here today. Everything kept clean and kept very fierce between these three as McBott goes wide again through Copps. He needs to get himself sorted going into that corner. Victor Meehan picks up another penalty. That puts his total to 6, which isn't good at all for him. As FaZe McBott with DRS again on Randro in the slipstream. Round the outside into Stowe. Will he get it done? He should, but now riding on board with Randro, will he send another one into the Vale chicane? McBott is trying to cover him off, but he's going to go late in the brakes, possibly around the outside like he did last time. Keeps it fairly clean and is just going to sit behind and possibly re-overtake down the Wellington Straight as Lucas Paul crucially picks up a penalty. He'll have to hope now that maybe the two in front of him will too. McBott looks like he will, with the amount of exceeding track limits he has down at Copps. Shano is into the pit lane either with damage or he's in early, as S Junior picks up a 3-second time penalty and moves up into the points after spinning out on lap 1, as Randro with DRS gaining on McBott but not gaining close enough. Lucas Paul still nice and close behind from Randro and Lucas Paul. It's an international race at the moment between an Irishman, an Argentinian and a Uruguayan, and the Uruguayan may possibly go for the lead here into Copps, who's later on the brakes. McBott usually goes wide and he has done again. He would want to possibly give that position back, as he may have got a warning for exceeding track limits there. Randro has kept hold for now as he goes down the hanger straight. McBot on Randro, or Randro on McBot, who will be latest on the brakes going into Stowe. The attacker is always latest on the brakes, but McBot goes for a switchback and that fails miserably, and he is dropped down to P2. There's Lucas Paul now looking on McBot as the gap is now a second between Randro and McBot. Maybe that is a bit of damage, but the further they get away, the more Randro, as I think McBot may have just missed the DRS detection zone. We'll find out now if he has DRS or not. He doesn't, and Lucas Paul does, so this could be a huge advantage for Randro and possibly Lucas Paul too, as he breezes by McBot going into Brooklands. No, he doesn't. McBot, late on the brakes, is going to at least try and battle with him, but it looks like Randro is gaining the most out of all this. McBot doesn't put up a fight there into Woodcote. May possibly get a better exit. No, he doesn't. So Lucas Paul is now into P2 and is going to have to almost like tail with McBot to chase down Randro at the moment. These two defending each other is not helping this race at all, as we are heading into the pit stop period eventually. Lap 8 of 26. We are almost a third of the way through this race. We will be now once Randro crosses the line. There is a lot of fighting going on at the back, but I don't really even want to see it, as McBot is into the pit lane. He may have got damage at the end of the lap there. That is very interesting. We will see now as he comes in. Will he get a front wing change? Is there a front wing waiting for him there at the McLaren garage? Emilio is in behind him. There is. It's a front wing change for FaZe McBot. He has got damage, and that will be a very interesting incident to be reported after the race, as Lucas Paul has just caught up enough to Randro to rob the DRS off him down the Wellington straight, as he needs to gain a lot more than that if he wants to overtake him. At the moment it's a two-way battle, and a safety car may shake things up for FaZe McBot, as he will come out behind Emilio. Griffin picks up a penalty for exceeding track limits. As this train at the moment between Ryan Curran all the way to Techno Sizzle on the podium seems to be an interesting enough one to see who will be the third interviewee we will have on the podium. Lucas Paul has gained on Randro, and Randro has very little ERS here. It's hard to save ERS around Great Britain because of so little hard braking zones. Lucas Paul has done well enough to keep his. Now, as they head down the Wellington Straight, will Lucas Paul possibly take the lead of this race? DRS activated as he gets up the gears very well. Where will he go? Just going to sit behind Randro for now. This is definitely a great way to end the championship here on the last game, as a few people are into the pit lane. Now, although Lucas Paul and Randro may think they've gotten the better here, they need to remember Lucas Paul does have a penalty, and McBot is on fresher tyres, and once he gets by Emilio, going to be in a lot of clean air. So possibly as Lucas Paul goes round the outside and into the lead here at the Hangar Straight. I missed that, and that's my bad, as both of them come charging into the pit lane here on lap 10. The tyre wear is enough for them, and they are going to put on the medium tyre, as if I hope they do. Techno Sizzle stays out as the two he was battling with stays in. So for now, Techno Sizzle is going to take the lead of the race. As we'll switch now to tyres. Lucas Paul obviously into the pit lane first. He is on the mediums, and Randro is also. So everyone at the moment is obviously going to switch to the medium tyre. No one wants to go to the hards. Techno Sizzle is staying out the longest, which means that he will have the fresher tyres at the end of the race. So will possibly S Junior 4, who's been on these tyres a long time and has got himself back up to P2 despite of spinning out earlier in the race. Lucas Paul and Randro's battle continues, with Emilio 8 seconds behind them. So a safety car is crucial for McBot, and possibly even Emilio as well, to get his first race win of the season. Those three are the only three that have won a race, and I'm guessing one of them will win today. We'll have to see. Lucas Paul is in the lead, but with the 3-second penalty, won't be, as there's a yellow flag, and it's Emilio. Emilio has spun out into Brooklyn, which is, I think, also may have collided with FaZe McBot, as he has dropped down to 8 and is now stuck in that DRS train with Ryan Curran, Victamine and LOI Shamrock, as Randro is gaining on Lucas Paul for what is essentially the lead of the race here, as the two in front have not pitted, but they are now, as S Junior 4 gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Randro, where will he go? Doesn't quite know at the moment, as he rounds the final corner, and now they're officially fighting for the lead. Everything is not going well for FaZe McBot as he's into the pit lane. He is into the pit lane, possibly for more medium tyres and most likely a front wing change. It goes from bad to worse for the McLaren driver today, as he did collide with Emilio most likely, and that issue has been noted by the stewards. Lucas Paul and Randro continue to battle for what is essentially the championship now. Lucas Paul needs to get away from Randro if he wants to win this championship. Randro literally just needs to stay within 3 seconds of picks up another time penalty, as my controller went dead there unfortunately, but it is back and going. The charger is right beside me, as Randro gets DRS again. It's almost been like a game of ping pong on how these two are overtaking each other. They're just overtaking each other each time into Stowe, as Randro possibly exceeding track limits there, and Lucas Paul would want him to do that as much as he can if he does want a good battle here today. They're very close, and he forces Randro a bit wide, but gives the position back. Very smart of him. Doesn't want to risk a penalty for pushing him wide. He remains in P2. So LOI Shamrock, Randro, Emilio and McBot, the only 4 at the moment who haven't got penalties. We'll take a look at the penalties at the moment. The person who's got the most is XD Harrison with 3 penalties served. S Junior 4 has 1 penalty that served, plus his 3-second penalty for exceeding track limits. To McBot, who is in 10th. Switch back to tyres. And it's Lucas Paul again right behind Randro as we reach the halfway point of this Grand Prix. So we've had 13 very exciting laps, and hopefully 13 very exciting more to go, as Lucas Paul is gaining on Randro. Will he get the move done into Stowe round the outside? Like before, he's done it again. Randro, I'd say, just needs to be patient here. He does not want to possibly force his own mistake and throw away a championship here. Lucas Paul would want this more than anyone after him being robbed of it last year. Techno Sizzle is the fastest man on track. He set the fastest lap of the race in P3. So it's been a good race for Mercedes, which will likely wrap up the constructors, as S Junior sets the fastest lap behind him, as Randro goes for a move possibly on Lucas Paul. He won't. Victor Mean and Shamrock are very close, as Shamrock obviously is well out of the DRS and slipstream of Techno Sizzle. He is in a world of his own at the moment, Techno Sizzle. One person who is in a world of his own is FaZe McBot. 7 seconds to the car ahead, and no, it's 20 seconds to the car ahead and 20 seconds to the car behind. So he's a long way away, as Randro goes in to the lead of the race down the inside from the Mercedes driver, as the ping pong has struck again with these two constantly trading positions. As it looks like, Ryan Curran has retired into sector 3. He has spun out there. It looks to be just a double waved yellow, as the safety car probably would have been brought out by now. Definitely would have been a shocker for Randro to possibly see McBot maybe even throw on the softs to go to the end. That's what it may be. That's what it may turn out to be if there is time. They will have to hope for possibly another safety car, as Shamrock has picked up a 3-second penalty, so his little comfort zone ahead of Victor Meehan will not help him at the moment, as everyone is racing for position at the moment other than FaZe McBot and Randro, who both don't have a penalty. Same with obviously Emilio Robolino too. As XD Harrison picks up yet another 3-second penalty along with Shano, and Randro has managed to keep it in the lead here going down the hanger straight. Both of them came in at the same time, so no one risked an overcut. Just want to keep it safe for the last 10 laps of this race, and very unfortunate for Lucas Paul that it most likely won't be his championship that he will be searching for. Obviously he can still search for it into season 3, which starts in August and will end around Halloween time. We have 12 races, as we had 10 in the first, only 4 in the second, which was very poor because of people's treatment of the old game. But eventually now we are moving to the new game in August, hopefully when all the bugs are fixed, and we will get going for hopefully the best season yet. I thought season 2 would be, which it was, into Bahrain, but as the new game rolled out, more and more people started to just completely get rid of it. So we've called the season early, and while it is dramatic, I would have liked to see us go all the way to 12 races. That was never going to happen. Will be CTCR Season 2 champion. Oh, Victor Mean has picked up another penalty. Oh, we already had one, so Shamrock really does need to just sit in behind him. Victor Mean, 9 seconds now for him, as Lucas Paul is a lot closer this time and is ahead of Randro, back into the lead of the race with 9. Going to be a very, very interesting finish. Eight laps remain. XD Harrison picks up another 3-second time penalty. I think that takes his total to 18 3-second penalties. So that will definitely drop him even behind, I think, FaZe McBot at this stage, as Shano is into the pit lane for just to change his compound to the softs. So he'll come out in P9 and we'll have the soft compound on. Possibly a good idea if the safety car comes out. We'll have to wait and see. FaZe McBot still on his mediums. He's hoping desperately for a safety car to come out for his championship hopes. As Randro retakes the lead on Ryan Curran and possibly goes for a move into the Vale chicane. No, Lucas Paul very late on the brakes, keeps it tight, but Randro is going to go down the inside into the final corner. He runs Lucas Paul wide, but Lucas Paul manages to keep the position, as I think that's Shamrock who's gone off into Stowe. We switch back to the people we want to be looking at, Randro and Lucas Paul. As Randro has DRS again down the Wellington straight. He's a great man for at least keeping it on the track as he goes into Brooklyn and retakes the lead, but goes a bit deep, possibly opening the door for Lucas Paul. We'll switch to broadcast, get a better view of the whole situation, as Lucas Paul is right behind the Mercedes driver at the moment. As we watch them battle through Mags and Beckett's, and at the moment keeping everything very clean. Little bit of oversteer for Lucas Paul will not help him. Randro trying to build that gap a bit further, as these two have just been battling every single time this race. Shamrock picks up a 3-second penalty as someone has gone off. Victor Mean has spun and the virtual safety car is out. Will that be upgraded to a full safety car? It may affect the race a bit differently. But at the moment, Victor Mean has no front wing and has just caused a virtual safety car. May just be getting a bit too late for a safety car in this race, as XD Harrison, you guessed it, picked up another penalty. That puts his total to 24, as he gets a much better exit than, well, Victor Mean, who has. So doesn't really matter for Harrison. He will drop behind McBot, but is in P7 currently at the moment. Just had a little bit of time saved from that virtual safety car as he heads to the 6th last lap of this Grand Prix. Is going Randro's way as Emilio picks up, I think that's penalty. No, it's his first. So McBott and Randro are the only people to have not received a 3-second penalty, as McBott moves up into 6th. It'll be very interesting if there is a collision which leads to a possible even just 1 lap safety car for McBott to catch up and go for there is. So and we'll see if Lucas Paul or Randro will go into the pits. What will they choose? Will they choose track position? Randro probably should, as he doesn't have a penalty. So it's definitely put a dent in the championship, and there definitely is going to be severe consequences for Shamrock because of that. So that will be a race ban into season 3 for LOI Shamrock if he does decide to race, because not only is he causing massive dent in the championship, because neither Lucas Paul or Randro has gone for the softs. The safety car will stay out for a few people at least to catch up. It has to come in on lap 24, so there'll be this lap and next lap, and then it has to come in. Emilio has been lapped and is behind Lucas Paul and Randro, and there's many other lapped cars possibly in the way of FaZe McBott and the championship. Both Haas cars finish outside the point. Everyone else has overtook the safety car too. The safety car. As I think that this safety car may not come in and Randro will win the championship behind the safety car. We will have to see. They are now behind the safety car because Griffin tried to overtake it and in doing so got disqualified. S Jr., what an amazing drive from him. He has got up into the podium positions as his teammate XT Harrison with 24 seconds, I think maybe 32 seconds of penalties, catches up. So S Jr. could well and truly possibly go for the race win here. Emilio is in AI mode. Luckily no one else of the front is, as Shano, Victorine and McBot all catch up now for the final lap of this race. The safety car should be in as soon as the few lads catch up. So what an ending to this race this may be. The safety car is in this lap and heading on to lap 26. Randro in the lead with Lucas Paul behind him. Will lead the way onto the final lap of this race. Can Randro win the championship? Will Lucas Paul, or will maybe even FaZe McBot from right from the back? We'll have to see. There'll have to be a lot of drama as Randro gets us underway. It's green flags here in Silverstone for the last lap of the race. It's a decent start from Randro. He has gotten a few away from Lucas Paul, but S Jr. is going to launch one down the inside. He may want to win today, and Lucas Paul will defend like his might, but S Jr. in the end has the better traction. But Lucas Paul, just like Charles Leclerc, is putting up a massive fight on those older tyres. S Jr. does have more penalties as Lucas Paul picked up another, which I missed, with 6 seconds. So him defending, possibly doing Randro a favour in winning the championship. He wants this P2 as much as anyone else. Techno Sizzle is riding right behind. He wants his second podium in CTCR. Obviously got one in China, is most likely going to get one today, as S Jr. still going to try one on Lucas Paul. They go head to tail, but at the moment it's saying side by side as XT Harrison has got disqualified from all of his penalties. But the real person to look out for at the moment is Randro 17. He rounds Stowe. He goes into the Vale chicane. It was a mighty short championship, but it was an excellent one from the Uruguayan. Randro 17 wins the race and wins Season 2 championship of corner to corner racing. S Junior did get the move done, but will drop back to 4th, with Shano coming in at 5th. McButt DNF'd at Mags and Beckett's, and Victor Mean will round the final corner and get P6. Wow. The safety car was trying to throw him off, but it didn't. Unfortunately for Lucas Paul, it threw him off. Techno Sizzle finishes P2, and it's a Mercedes 1-2. Just like the championship last year, it ends with the constructors and the drivers going to a certain constructor. Randro and Techno Sizzle get a 1-2 for Mercedes to possibly even round off the server constructors if that happens. A lot of incidents today, but in the end the glory goes to the Uruguayan as he wins the championship. What an ending, but maybe an undeserved one, as that is our race. Hello.
La puta madre, boludo, felicitaciones, amigo. Anduviste muy bien. Amigo, no. Boludo, Sí, boludo, yo tipo, cuando vi que McBot se había hecho bosta, dije, o sea, a vos no te peleo ni a palo. Tenías 3 segundos y no. Sí, boludo, yo no tuve, boludo, yo no tuve ni uno, yo no sé cómo hice. Sí, obvio. Sí, por eso yo me relajé cuando íbamos. Claro. Igual, ¿cómo chocó, boludo? Porque él venía al lado mío y de la nada, tipo, sentí un golpe y McBot estaba de costado y después no sé qué hizo. Por eso. Pero no sé por qué.
Okay, so should we get going
Amigo,
for the short interviews? I don't think
amigo,
Techno
no puede
will be
ser
able
la
to show
carrera
up.
que fue, amigo. Ah, sorry, gafo. Ay, el Discord. Bro, para mí que Ryan Curran, tipo, hizo el safety car a propósito, ¿vos sabés? Porque está escribiendo MacBot Robert, tipo, como que lo robaron.
Someone deliberately crashed out.
What?
Someone crashed into a wall on purpose.
Amigo, me suena el Discord hasta en la pija, boludo.
Yeah, it'll die down eventually. Okay, so we'll just get started. We'll keep it short. So we'll start with you, Lucas Paul. Again, unfortunate for you. Only I think it was P3 was your final position, but I think that the time penalties definitely ruined you there, and then maybe even the safety car at the end of the race. Tell us about your race. Tell us what happened. Yeah, it was unfortunate. So in qualifying, you did manage to. I think you did rob pole position at the end. Was a very interesting end to qualifying. How did that go? Yeah, it was a great race, and then obviously the sprint race went fairly well enough. Obviously, I think Randro did manage to overtake you and get pole position for the race. I'm pretty sure, wasn't it? Or were you on pole for the race? Oh yeah, again the track limits. I think
Uh, I let Lucas Paul in the sprint race because I didn't want to have a MacBot behind me. So if he finished ahead of me, he would be.
Yeah, he would have been ahead of McBot. Yeah, so it's obviously smart enough thinking. And then obviously, unfortunately, you miss out. You will get P2 in the standings, just like last season. How are you looking forward into season 3? Yeah, well, obviously you have plenty of time. August 5th is, I think, when we get started in Tier 2, and then August 6th for Tier 1. So, thanks a lot, and we will move on to Randro. So, your first season in CTCR, and it's your first championship. Tell us about the race. How did it go?
Well, the quali was a bad surprise because I didn't expect the rain. And then I made a mistake because I went out too early, and Lucas could do one more lap, and and he was on pole, so I had work to do because I was in third. Yeah, the sprint was amazing. As I said before, I let Lucas Paul let him pass to so I can start P1 and he P2. So I didn't have my main rival in behind me. And yeah, then the race, like it was the best fight I have ever had in an F1 game, and considering that we were fighting for the championship, so yeah, I want to say thanks to both of them and congrats to everybody.
Yeah, obviously it was an amazing race. I think at one point the three of you were trading positions almost every single lap. It started to die down just before the safety car, and then obviously you got a great restart. What was going through your mind as the safety car came out? What were you thinking?
At the beginning, I said no because I was very comfortable with Lucas. I knew that he had a penalty, so I would win. But I didn't know what can happen in the safety car. So at the beginning, I said no. But when I saw that McLeod was very like I think it was 7 or 8, something like that. I said, well, now I have to just keep the car going and go to the finish line.
Yeah, obviously it was a great race, and congrats to you for winning the championship. Season 3 up next on the new game, new regulations, completely new cars almost. How confident are you to keep in a title fight for next race?
I really don't know because I was practicing this last week in F122 and I didn't feel like very comfortable. But I think with practice I can improve a lot. So we have to see, because maybe someone that is very slow in F1 2021 can be the fastest on F1 22.
Yeah, obviously that is a great thing to say, and congratulations to both of you. Unfortunate for Lucas Paul, but very well done to you, Randro. So that is it for F1 2021, and that is it for season 2.
Yes, what a race!
We will join you. We will join you. Hope you join us in season 3, and we will see you all later.
Thanks, man.